Meantime, on the Republican side, Donald Trump is still the frontrunner by a wide margin. In a new CBS News national poll, the billionaire has 35% of support. That is nearly a double-digit lead over his closest rival, Ted Cruz.
But the race could still turn on its head. The same poll revealed that 53% of Republican voters nationwide still may change their minds. Now, this comes just 2 days before the South Carolina primary. We're joined now by our elections director, Anthony Salvanto, to break this all down for us. Anthony, so it's interesting. The CBS poll has Trump up by a wide margin, but a new NBC poll has Cruz beating Trump by 2 points. So the question is, how much weight do these polls carry?
Vlad, I'm here to talk about a very serious problem that afflicts political junkies every year, every election year. It's polling whiplash.
Yes.
It can be avoided. That's the good news.
Yeah.
Okay. What it is, yes, every day a new poll comes out.
Right.
And somebody's up and somebody's down and somebody's winning and somebody's losing. Okay. What I think everybody needs to do is step back for a minute and say, what's the big picture here? What do most polls show? Because those are extra data points, right? Most polls have Donald Trump as the national leader, as ours does. I think it's very comfortable we can say that he is the nationally preferred candidate. However, okay, in any individual poll, you look inside and you see what's going on inside. And you say, well, in the NBC poll, they did talk to a lot of folks who are very conservative. Well, we know that Ted Cruz does very well with the very conservative. That's a subset. He's done that in Iowa. He's done that even in New Hampshire and is leading in South Carolina with that group. But overall, when we look at the national picture, Donald Trump is up because he is the preferred candidate of people who want to shake up the system. They tell us that. And his support has been remarkably durable throughout this whole campaign. Whatever he says, whether people think it's controversial or not, his supporters stick with him. And those are the big picture lessons I think you take away from this.
Let's talk about Marco Rubio. He has managed to snag some key endorsements. Yesterday, I think the endorsement that a lot of Republicans really wanted was from Governor Nikki Haley, and he got it. But I have to ask the question, will that improve his chances? I mean, do these sort of endorsements from candidates, establishment candidates, do they really make a difference in this election?
See, that's the key word. It's establishment. In some sense, you want that because she's popular and that could help. But the word establishment is literally a bad word for Republicans in South Carolina. We tested this and we said, what does it mean to you? And folks told us they think it's a bad thing. They think it's politicians who've been there too long and don't care about regular voters. So you don't necessarily want to be too tied to the establishment, even though we, the pundits and the pollsters try to put people into this establishment lane. You hear that term all the time. This is a race really between those insiders and the outsiders. And right now, the outsiders are winning. And so Donald Trump is up in South Carolina, and then Ted Cruz is behind him in second place. So it's striking that balance between competing with the outsiders, but getting enough people to look at you because you're endorsed by some popular folks.
Right.
Speaking of establishment candidates, Jeb Bush, he's polling fifth there right now in the graphic that we just showed. If he doesn't do well on Saturday, what does it mean for his campaign?
I think the argument going forward is that there might be more Republicans in later states as we get north, as we get into the Midwest, that might want somebody like a Jeb Bush who has been a governor. They're voting on their record as opposed to their strict ideology like you find in some of these early states. But he's got to get there. And the argument against him politically is going to be that if you can't get traction where you've spent a lot of time and spent a lot of money and voters are supposedly, know you well because you've campaigned for a year in these places, then can we really expect him to get traction everywhere else? That's the argument that will take place in his campaign and among donors. And does he have time then to really sort of ride this out? Right now in South Carolina, he's pretty well down in the polls.
So speaking of riding it out, let's look at the Democrats, right? And in Nevada, Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders are neck and neck according to the numbers. How important is Nevada and nailing it, winning it? How important is that in terms of momentum moving forward?
Momentum means that voters in states that are coming up look at what happens in the earlier states and go, oh, do those voters know something that I don't? Did they get to know the candidates better and make a choice? And can I use that information as I decide? That's how you break down momentum. Well, in a surprise, if it were to happen out of some place like Nevada, that might make voters in later states sit up and take notice. Okay, so we all expected Hillary Clinton to have a fairly easy time in Nevada because she's had a good ground game there, because she's been there longer, she's got more money, or had it going in. So if in fact Bernie Sanders makes a compelling argument there and gets some traction, yeah, that could portend well for him in later states, because those states, as we head south, are not necessarily friendly to Bernie Sanders otherwise. They're demographically really shaped to be in Hillary Clinton's favor.
Anthony, the narrative with the Clinton campaign, obviously she thought and her people thought that she would do well in Nevada. There are many minorities there. They make up nearly half of Nevada's population. But I don't think that the question whether or not she can last beyond Nevada is valid, because she is going to last beyond Nevada. Yeah. I mean, that's the bottom line, right?
Yeah,
I mean, people are talking about Nevada as if, if she goes down here, it's a surprise, but it doesn't, long term, what does it mean?
What it means is, what do we make out of states where candidates campaign and spend money and then get a certain result? Okay, do you judge from that whether they have weaknesses or vulnerabilities that could last for them longer than just those particular states? I think for Hillary Clinton, what she's got in the bag, preparedness. She's up in that measure. She's got in the bag experience. Voters think she has that. Okay, what she's trying to shore up are those measures of honesty and integrity, which her poll numbers on those have been a little bit lower than Bernie Sanders's have. Can she do that in places where she campaigns? Does that cost her votes? Those are the metrics that people are looking at for a long run at the campaign.
Anthony, real quick before we let you go, I think for Hillary Clinton, even if she wins Nevada, but Bernie comes in right behind her, it's sort of like, are we looking at the same thing that we saw in Iowa where, yeah, she won,
right,
but it's a Pyrrhic victory?
Right.
Yeah, because again, you're going to look at what demographic groups does she win?
Yeah.
Does she win young people? Well, Bernie Sanders is winning with young people. So you look at that and you say, yeah, even if she lasts and she goes through the rest of the primaries, can she keep that through November?
Yeah.
Because she needs those voters. So you use it as little test cases for what we might see going forward.
All right, Anthony Salvanto, always great to have you on, man. Thank you.
Thanks.